Welcome to Let's Talk Elevators, the podcast where we hear from voices within the vertical transportation industry. This show is sponsored by Hyperion Solutions, whose focus is to provide tailored solutions that elevate the customer experience. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Elevators. Today we're going to talk about the women who are shaping the future of the elevator industry. And I am especially excited to welcome Julie Gilby of CKG Elevators in Nova Scotia. Madam President, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Morgan. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I feel like everybody kind of has a unique story, an origin story of how they got into the industry. So let's hear yours.
Sure. Well, nothing to do with elevators to start out for sure. Before joining, I spent about 20 years actually with Tim Hortons. So was in the restaurant industry. Absolutely loved my job there, everything about it. So I had been the senior director of business development. So with that job, I traveled a lot, spent a lot of time away from home. So once I had the opportunity to kind of join Andrew at CKG Elevator, my husband, it was the opportunity to we had two young kids. He was having to do mom and dad duties all the time. So it was nice to be able to get home and, spend most nights at home. So it was then a good change for me. And really the skills that you learned were very easily transferable into owning and operating our own business. So it was a really good change for me.
I think that's a really interesting transition that you made. And I think one thing that people don't realize is just how quickly you can be kind of pulled into this industry and then never leave again. Did you expect this to be your long-term career?
Honestly, I would say yes, I did. Once we started working together, which husband and wife teams, I understand aren't for everyone, but really did enjoy it. I had so much to learn, but it's always evolving, always changing. Have an amazing team of people that we work with. So even from the beginning, it felt like more of a family, and that opportunity to really make a difference in whether it's giving back in the community within our own team and just growing something of your own. It was really a good natural fit right from the beginning.
What were some of your early experiences coming into this field?
I definitely had a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn. I felt like the elevator industry had its own language. So every time there was a conversation, it's like, I know it's English, but I really don't understand what we're talking about. So I would be entering time tickets and all of those things that we have to do. And when I first started, we were very manual. And I was like, sorry, guys, still don't understand what this means, and have to get them to walk me through it. So just, so much to learn, but also a really welcoming industry, I would say. And I know we'll talk about the CECA organization, but that was also a really good welcoming experience for me and really made you feel like you were part of a bigger team, which is great when you're a small independent.
So you mentioned that kind of welcoming culture, which I think is not something most people would expect from what is traditionally a male-dominated industry. Was there a moment that you felt like this is where I belong?
I will say, I'm going to give Catherine credit for this. So if she listens, I'm going to have to be upfront about that. When first going to our first convention and being new, felt very welcomed by the entire organization, but really asking some questions to see if we would be willing to host here in Halifax. And just then you got to know so many people. And so you really felt like you were part of that team right away. And it really was so welcoming. We were fortunate it was in Quebec and we knew the host at that point. And yeah, it was just a very welcoming experience for sure.
Who have been some of your biggest influencers or mentors?
Really, there's so many. So if I think about that, my parents were both entrepreneurs. So they both had small businesses. My mom from a beauty salon to my parents with a canteen and a gift shop, which we had to work at as kids since we were 10 years old, essentially. So that really shapes that work ethic piece because it's really ingrained in you. But if I think about people that really influence or still when I make a decision or are working on something that really come to mind, if I go way back to when I was first managing my first Tim Hortons restaurant. So I would have been 18 years old at that point, and I still think about this. The owner of that restaurant, his name was Stan, and he was going away for the first time and he was leaving me in charge. So as a younger person with a team of 35 people at the time, it was pretty overwhelming. So when he was leaving, he just said, fly the plane. That was his message. So no matter what distractions are happening or what else is going around, just keep flying the plane. I still think about that to this day of although things can feel like they're falling down around you, you got to keep moving forward, push out the noise and fly the plane. So I still think about that.
I think that is a fascinating story and such a great parallel to this industry when there are so many things that you have to adapt to, challenges that you have to face, and that mindset of just adjusting or flexing to whatever the conditions and to keep
Yes.
moving forward. Do you feel like you come back to that same mindset in your leadership role with CECA?
Absolutely do. If I think really about CECA and everything that's even happening as we're preparing for a convention, there is so many things that are happening in the industry. So really staying focused and really trying to focus on achievements and what we can accomplish, because you can really easily get caught up in going down many different paths and then you just overextend yourself. And we are a fairly small team. So I think really focusing on accomplishments is so important. And I think about that. Fly the plane. You sometimes have to take out some of that noise on the side to really get some accomplishments and achieve achievements as a group.
What would you say are some of your top priorities in your role as president with CECA?
Great question. It's something I think about a lot, actually. We have a wonderful team of directors that all work together, but it is a small group. So we have Catherine and Brandy that work with CECA, who are absolutely phenomenal and so fortunate to have them. But as a small team, you really have to focus on a few things to make things happen. So that's really been the goal is, okay, let's as a group decide strategically what are our key areas. And that's something that we've been working on for about 8 months now of let's really set out our goals and objectives and start measuring those goals and really focus on results. And it's kind of changing from trying to be everything for everyone to really focus and get some achievements. And for me, having CECA, having a voice in the industry across is so important. So we have to show our value and being able to achieve that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes while there will always be challenges, a small staff, a small organization, I think on the flip side, it may be a benefit in a lot of ways being able to laser focus or to adapt quickly with a smaller team in better alignment.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I said, we have a tremendous team of people that are really aligned in that way of thinking for that strategic planning and focusing on results. So we're really fortunate, a lot of like-minded people working together.
Absolutely. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for growth right now?
I think with so much happening in the industry, and if you look back historically, it's probably not that different, but really focusing on industry relationships and modernizing how we all work together and finding those avenues to best communicate, I think is a really good opportunity because as codes are changing, safety and all of those things, we want to find our best way possible to communicate effectively.
I like it. So, thinking about the next generation of people in the industry, I think that continues to be one of the hot topics that we talk about a lot, how we're going to attract talent, how we're going to appeal to the next generation. How can organizations like CECA support that next generation?
I think there's a lot of avenues around education and things like that, but I think CECA specifically, as we're looking at it right now, is the 1939 Club, which is just a tremendous group of young people that have come together that are really about that, what our next generation is going to be. I think that's going to bring our next generation of leaders. So anything that they can do to help build that foundation for the future is critical because they've got different ideas. Our way of thinking doesn't necessarily speak as well to the next generation. So having a group of really invested people that are bringing those new ideas to the table are really going to be our future leaders. And it's such a great opportunity to have, it's that mentoring opportunity and all of those things, which is so valuable. And having a space that they can ask questions and have some fun together is really valuable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's really important that CECA is fostering that group of people, creating those opportunities through the 1939 Club so that that next generation of people can get plugged in and have places to network, to meet other people, because having been that person once upon a time, it's intimidating to go to a big convention or to any of those kinds of events and feel like you don't know enough or you don't know enough people or
Yeah.
whatever the case. So I truly appreciate that those groups exist and are being supported by CECA.
What I love, so I will have my daughter attending the first one this one, so which
Yes,
is great.
I would
So
love to see
yeah,
Grace.
so as a 21 coming into that kind of environment, exactly as you're saying, it's really great to kind of have that opportunity to be with your peers and have some fun too, which is great.
Totally. So let's shift the focus to women in the industry. And we have the Elevate Her group with CECA, the Women in Motion group with NAEC. It feels like there's good momentum building in the industry for women. And I think seeing women like yourself in leadership positions is really a testament to the opportunity for women coming in or looking at this industry for a potential career. What kind of changes do you feel like you've seen in the industry?
If I think about the organizations, I think it's such a wonderful opportunity from Elevate Her here with CECA and the Women in Motion group, which I've had the opportunity to attend some of those events, which have been fantastic. It's so important because it creates those safe places for women to, again, just share experiences and learn from one another and just build that confidence, which I do think is so important. And you can support each other, but also have a lot of fun. It'll create that next generation of leaders and hopefully more women sitting at the table, which when you look from a population standpoint, we're only going to get stronger if we're not just using half of the population. There's only
Right.
opportunity to improve the industry.
Right. And to broaden perspectives and have different takes on things, so important. And I love what you said about the opportunity to connect and to gain confidence. I for sure feel like through some of those various networking events and things that have been organized, I have gotten to hear stories from other people, share some stories myself, understand it's not just me. They've experienced that too, and to your point, gain some comfort and some confidence knowing like we're all in this together and everybody is so supportive.
Absolutely. And it will only benefit the industry as a whole. So even when you come up one more level and look at the big picture, it's only going to better the industry, which I think is what everybody's goal is as well.
Tell me more about what your experience has been like as a woman in the elevator industry.
I think I've been very fortunate, is what I would say. Coming into the industry, I had a very supportive husband that I get to work with and does not look at those barriers, I would say, for women. I think you are in a very male dominated industry. It is, I mean, it's reality, it's what we see. I think sometimes the challenges are, which I'll speak for myself in this, is that if you don't have a lot of the technical, which I do not experience, sometimes it's hard sitting at those tables because you don't have all of those operational knowledge potentially that they're talking about. But again, finding where you can add value, I think is really my thing is because I'm not going to go out and fix that elevator. It's not my skill set. So I have to be realistic about that. There's women that can do that very well. That isn't me. So where can I add value? And it's finding those opportunities of how can I help the industry? What is it that I can bring to the table? And that's been really beneficial for me. We all can't be everything to everyone. So finding your place, I think, is important.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me reflect on some of my own experiences as a woman in the industry. And a lot of those experiences, I will walk into a room with a male counterpart, sit in front of a group of people, and naturally they all look to my male counterpart to ask their questions or to look for answers. And you can't really fault anybody for that. It's just kind of the way things have always been to expect the guys to be the knowledgeable ones. But I think some of my proudest moments have been people coming to me after those meetings and saying, "Hey, you really know your stuff." And while I could take that maybe negatively of, "Oh, you expected me not to know anything," I choose to look at it as, "Hey, I did a great job. I proved myself. I showed my value. They recognize that." And the more of us that will be willing to do that as women, the more we're gonna
Absolutely.
see a positive change.
Yeah, that's great.
What barriers do you feel like still exist today?
I think barriers to the industry as a whole is knowing that the industry is an option for people. I think that looking at construction as a whole, I have a son that just graduated high school. I feel like they talk a lot about other trades. I don't feel like elevators are something that people think of as an option. So I think just having recognition that it's a great industry, that there's a lot of opportunity, both male and female, and, really getting that information out there, I think is probably the biggest obstacle I still see.
Yeah, I could totally relate to that. I think you're right. There needs to be more visibility for us as an industry to get the word out that there is huge opportunity all across North America
Absolutely.
and in so many different channels, so many different positions or roles or capacities that it doesn't have to just be technical, like you said.
Right.
It could be so many other things still within the industry.
Yes, from suppliers and through government agencies. Again, there's just, so many things and people just don't realize.
What role would you say that mentorship plays in the industry?
I really do think mentorship is so valuable because, again, when you ask the question, there's so many people that come to mind for me. And I think it really is, as people are looking to grow and expand their roles, I think having those people that you can really go and talk to and help bounce ideas off of and all of those things is just so valuable because that will stick with you as you go through your career. And I think look at it from a field perspective when you have apprentices with mechanics. I mean, that's invaluable experience. And I think in most cases that apprentice remembers the mechanic they worked with the first day and what that was like and what that experience was like. It really does shape them throughout their career. So I think sometimes you don't even realize the impact that you're having on people, but it is really important to take that time. And if you have someone who is looking for that relationship, to invest the time. From an internal organization, it's invaluable, but I think from an industry as well.
Totally agree. What kind of advice would you give a new person coming to the industry?
I would say my best advice is to, when you're first coming in, listen more. Take the time to learn. If you don't know the answer, don't pretend that you do. I think there's a lot of value to that. I think sometimes we can think that that makes us feel less than if you don't have the answers. But I think especially going in, learn everything you can. Take those opportunities for mentorship and don't put so much pressure on yourself to have the answer right away. Take that time to learn, I think is really valuable.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of growing in maturity is understanding there are probably a lot of other people having the same question or not knowing the answer and being bold enough to be the one to raise your hand and ask it for the betterment of yourself, but for the group as well.
And to utilize the experience around you. Again, I look at from a CECA board perspective. We have a tremendous amount of experience in that room. One of us may not have the answer, but guaranteed someone at that table does. So use those opportunities for that education, I think is so valuable.
It's great advice. How do you think that we can attract more women specifically into the industry?
I think it's things like being at the conventions. And I realize that then a lot of times they're already in the industry, but I think then word of mouth changes because people are talking about those experiences and the opportunity to be part of something and growing in something. You have to start with having that strong foundation and then it'll help evolve and grow. And we look at the Elevate Her group. We're looking to evolve that and have a team now looking at events and education opportunities that will continue to grow and that'll help with getting more people interested. And then it still comes back to the whole industry that we have some work to do to give us that visibility.
What would you say is something that you feel like really excites you about the future of the industry?
It excites me. This isn't your question. What makes me nervous is AI. I have so much to learn. I think it's exciting, but scary.
Agreed.
So that would definitely be something that really it touches you almost every day at this point. So it's finding your way to find the parts of it that are good, but being careful to open yourself up to something that is potentially risky as well. I think it's an exciting time, but making sure we utilize it in the beneficial way. I think there's so much should be talked about with that and attending the last education sessions when we were at NAC in the spring. There's just tremendous opportunity and it excites me when we talk about go in and take a picture and you could turn that around into a quote in seconds and diagnose what something, but it's also a bit scary as well. So that would be what's most exciting but scary.
Agreed. Well said. Julie, what's been your proudest professional moment?
I think it would almost be twofold. I think from a company, so very fortunate with CKG and the team that we have. And from where we started to where we are today, we're a company that focuses on giving back when we have the opportunity in the community, supporting lots of different grassroots type marketing things, which is important to me because you can sometimes get lost in that. And that really is, I'm a community person. Being involved in community, share of heart is what we used to call it in Tim Hortons' world. That's important to me. And I think that's something both Andrew and I are very proud of, being able to give back. I think being part of CECA, working with such a great team of people and being able to have the opportunity to be president for a couple of years and to be the first woman president, I think is exciting. And it really is something that I hope will have a lasting impact and grow for generations to come.
I believe it truly will. I think that it's such an exciting thing for women, for the industry, and I'm really inspired by it. So lastly, what was the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Go back to before. I'm going to say fly the plane.
I love that. I think it's a good one and one I for sure will be repeating like a mantra in my head, I think, as we go forward.
Yes.
What stands out about the conversation is that it's evolving through people, through relationships, and we have to have a willingness to stay engaged, to keep improving, to keep having conversations like this. So I really appreciate you being here today, sharing your perspectives and your time. So thank you so much for
And
being here.
thank you, Morgan. What you're doing as we talk about the opportunities for what the future holds, it's things like this. Creative new ideas and getting out to people in a different way. Like this is exactly what we're talking about, is that visibility piece. It's something that you should be very proud of that you're doing, that is going to have great impacts on the industry as well. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Well, to all of our listeners, thank you for joining this episode. And until next time, keep moving up. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. If you have an idea for a future episode, connect with us on letstalkelevators.com. Until next time, stay safe and keep moving up.